we had no clarity. We just wanted to build something large. And we updated our LinkedIn profile, me and Anurag, on day one when we started GirnarSoft, that we are building a $1 billion company. We did not know how it will happen. It was a large number sitting out of a garage, that too from Jaipur. When we called people for interviews, and we had a shabby setup, we had got किराए वाली जो टेबल होती है फट्टे वाली, उस पर वाइट कपड़ा लगा के हम लोग काम करते थे. So people would come see our garage and think, no, we don't want to work here. And talent pool was in any case very limited in Jaipur. GirnarSoft to CarDekho was not a simple switch. We actually did multiple startups. We started generating 20 lakh a month back then in 10, 11 through Price Dekho, through ads. We spent 3 days in their office and we realized we are sitting on a gold mine. We've got this much traffic, and I saw how traffic could convert into various businesses at Auto Trader. उस टाइम 1-2 मिलियन के चेक होते थे, हमने सीधे 15 का चेक किया. पैसा तब उठाओ जब नहीं चाहिए. अगर पैसा तब उठाओगे ना जब तुम्हें चाहिए, तो घटिया टर्म्स मिलेंगे, ज़्यादा डिल्यूशन करोगे. आई थिंक व्हेनेवर आई इन्वेस्ट इनटू अ बिजनेस, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग फॉर मी इज द एंटरप्रेन्योर. बंदा कैसे? पहले बंदा फिर धंधा. मैं आज बात करना है पॉइंट टू पॉइंट एग्जीक्यूशन और लॉजिस्टिक्स की. एक छोटे शहर से यूनिकॉर्न कैसे बनाया और आप कैसे बना सकते हैं उस पर. हाय, आई एम अमित जैन, CEO एंड co-founder CarDekho Group. We are a house of brands. We run many businesses in new car, used car, insurance, finance. We are all over the place. We are now present in many countries: Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia. We'll learn today how a small-time Jaipur company actually became a global company with multiple lines of business, which is a house of brands. While people think we are a house of brands, we actually are a brand around consumer. We built every business around our own consumer. We started with a new car business. That was CarDekho. Then we realized that he has to sell a car after 4 years. So we started a classified business within CarDekho. We also realized he needs a loan to buy a car. So we started Rupee, which is our finance arm. We also understood that he requires insurance every year. That's where Insurance Dekho was born. So we actually have been building deeper around our consumer. That's how the house of brands got created. I was born in Jaipur in 1976. I went to IIT Delhi, graduated in 1999. That's where it all began for me. At IIT, actually, when I reached there, it was just, opening up a vision for me. Because I met brilliant people with brilliant teams, and everybody was talking big. Somebody wanted to go to US, somebody wanted to go to IIM, somebody was talking about starting business at that era. I think I was privileged enough to reach where I had 5 people from whom I could learn from, made some best friendships of life there, learned real life skills there, because, in Delhi, IIT Delhi is actually in South Delhi. So I would visit Priya, I would go to many fests out there. And I think, my social skills, which were actually not that evolved, because बहुत ज़्यादा पापा मम्मी बाहर जाने नहीं देते थे स्कूल टाइम में. तो यहाँ पर पहली बार मौका मिला, यू कैन गो आउट, टॉक टू पीपल. तो कहीं ना कहीं सोशल स्किल बिल्ड हो रही थी. तो आई थिंक आई learned a lot of stuff at IIT. Biggest thing I learned was dream big. The first job I got was at TCS. I only interviewed for one company and I got selected, so I did not give any other interview. So I landed up a job there. And then I saw myself 3 months in training in Trivandrum, where I started learning coding. And I already had learned coding at IIT. It was a new platform, Java, I was trying to learn there. And then got placed in Bombay. And that's where I learned my hardcore programming skills. I became one of the top coders of my time in my batch at that point. And that's when I moved to Trilogy, which was an Austin-based company in 2000. And then I stayed there for 6 years. I went to multiple profiles within Trilogy. It was more entrepreneurial culture out there. I did my first startup rather within Trilogy. And I started a lot of startups within Trilogy. So the experiences I got, firstly, I got brilliant people to work with. They were from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, IITs. And I think the best brains, when you work with them, your vision automatically starts opening. And I had, again, a privilege to have, I became average of those 5 I met. So I think I was lucky enough. I also learned product management. I also learned programming. I also learned sales in my own startup that I did within Trilogy. I had to go for sales also. And I also learned SEO there to get organic traffic. And these skills, life skills that I learned at Trilogy, actually came handy while building GirnarSoft and CarDekho Group, basically. I moved back to Jaipur, to my hometown, in year 2006. And that was when my father got detected with cancer, and it was a last stage cancer. So I had 2 options, either to move my grandparents, my mom, to Bangalore, or me and Anurag move back. And I thought, it will be a complete social disruption for my grandparents, and they had a very active social life. The love of my family got me here. So when I was working with Trilogy, I was working on a great package. It was one of the highest pays back then in that time. So money was, abundant out there. We had bought house, we had a car, we had an EMI, we had so many EMIs to pay. And I was moving back to Jaipur. There was obviously that element of doubt, risky, how will we manage all these expenses? And I think one thing that was comforting was that घर जा रहे हैं जयपुर में किराया तो नहीं है, we have a permanent house there, that expense is not there और खाने पीने का काम हो जाएगा जाके, right? So that probably gave some comfort कि खर्चे कम रखने. So I think how I think about is first is survival, and you have to make survival money, and then you have to basically start looking at what you need to do next. Either you'll have a cash bench which you have created through your savings, and you'll eat into it while you're doing it, but you would never expose fully out, and that's what I did. First thing was get your expenses low. So no luxury drama, nothing. Just get to basics because you're about to become an entrepreneur. Choose. So for first few years, I never actually even booked a hotel. I always stayed at my friends' places, right? As an entrepreneur, I would give a call. मैं तेरे शहर में आ रहा हूँ, मैं तेरे शहर में. I would stay at their places. Many years, not even a single hotel making booking was made, right? And that's how entrepreneur's life is. He has to be very lean when he begins. पैसे नहीं है, runway बढ़ाना है, तो ऐसे करना होता है. And I think that risk-taking ability is in each one of you, but you need to plan a little better. Impulsive decision is not something that I recommend to anybody, because I plan it out on how I'm gonna manage the expenses, and there was a path to it, and we were executing on that path. So first we started an outsourcing company, for example, and that started generating cash. And then we were in a comfortable zone that we've got a cash bench. Now we can reinvest back into startup. And the vision, when we started off, we had a very large dream. It was not a really vision, because vision is typically an idea. You get thought clarity. We had no clarity. We just wanted to build something large. And we updated our LinkedIn profile, me and Anurag, on day one when we started GirnarSoft, that we are building $1 billion company. We did not know how it will happen. It was a large number sitting out of a garage, that too from Jaipur. But that belief was there somewhere, कर लेंगे. And I think that's what mattered. वो जो सपना था वो पूरा करने की चाह रहती है ना, that led us to do so many more startups. We did CarDekho, we did jewelry startup, we did e-commerce startup Shop Dekho, we did a price comparison startup called Price Dekho, we did an astrology startup. We have done so many things in life just because that hunger was there to build something large, and that still remains. And goals have changed, of course. After reaching $1 billion, you want to chase 100 now. But I think the most satisfying part of the journey has been that I have dreamt big every single time and worked hard towards those dreams. And I've always believed it will happen. Building GirnarSoft in a tier 2 city was probably the most biggest blessing in disguise to me. It was struggleful, but it was actually enriching journey, and I learned a lot during this. First problem was, how to get talent. There was nobody who was trying to, come to a company which is based out of a garage. Startup was not as cool in that time. I'm talking about 2006-7 era. And when we called people for interviews, and we had a shabby setup, we had got किराए वाली जो टेबल होती है फट्टे वाली, उस पर वाइट कपड़ा लगा के हम लोग काम करते थे. So people would come see our garage and think, no, we don't want to work here. And talent pool was in any case very limited in Jaipur. So forget about hiring, the senior people. So what we ended up doing was we ended up hiring freshers right out of the college, raw talent of Jaipur. And I think that was probably the biggest blessing in disguise, because we got some insanely awesome talent, and we were able to hone it, nurture it, and they are all leaders in our company today. Somebody is a CTO, somebody is a CMO, and I think I was blessed to have such a team at that point. The young people were very hungry, and I think they got a right exposure through us, me, Anurag. We would coach them, we would train them. तो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है ना, पहली job is very critical to choose the right job, because if you get the right manager, you get exposed to a massive degree of learning. So first for 3 years, 5 years of career, I think you should put yourself in the most uncomfortable situations where you end up learning. If somebody says, ये काम कौन करेगा, you should be the first one to lift your hand, मैं करूँ. And even if you don't know, because in any case, you will learn something in the process. GirnarSoft was a software company, outsourcing company, and we transitioned into a product company, right? Launched many brands, CarDekho, Dekho, and so on and so forth. But there was a reason why it was happening, because we realized that outsourcing model can't make a $1 billion company. It will require a lot of people, which we could not have created in Jaipur back then. So we realized, no, let's do something that can be done from a room and could generate traffic or revenue across, right? Room se kya ho sakta hai? And it was a product company clearly, because internet was coming in, digital distribution was the way. So we thought, let's create websites which can reach people digitally, and we can build this website from here, sitting right in our garage, and it can reach the country. And that was the new wave that was catching up back then in India. We had knowledge of SEO. I had personally done SEO during Trilogy, and we are a coder. I was a coder, Anurag was a coder. We coded a site, put it out live. That's how it all began, playing on our strengths. And we quickly attracted a lot of traffic. Then we started a lot of companies. From GirnarSoft to CarDekho was not a simple switch. We actually did multiple startups. We did a startup, My Jewelry Deals for Jewelry. We did an astrology site, myastrologyhoroscope.com. We did a shopping site called Shop Dekho, where you could come buy mobiles, and lost a lot of money here. We also did Bike Dekho, we also did Car Dekho. All these startups that I started were based on one common thing, that we knew how to distribute digitally. And that was our superpower. We could code fast, we could get traffic, and each site got traffic. And there are reasons each one was shut down, which I'm not going to explain here today in detail. It will take a lot of time, but the reason actually that it failed gave me new learning. What kind of business? There was learning in supply chain, there was learning in distribution, there was learning in various aspects of my life, and every single failure I had led to a better startup. Like when I shut down Shop Dekho and I was losing money per mobiles were getting lost in couriers and distribution, physical distribution हो रही थी अब. So I realized कि इतने loss में नहीं चला सकता. So what we did was we pivoted the site into Price Dekho, which was a price comparison site, and it became a big hit. And back then in 2010, there were so many websites which were selling mobiles, and it was just beginning of e-commerce. Flipkart भी तो बहुत सारे और थे. People would compare at that time. They'll find price compare, and that became a big hit. We started generating 20 lakh a month back then in 10, 11 through Price Dekho, through ads. And that's what I think one failure leads to another one. Finally, zeroing into CarDekho was a very different journey. I went to Atlanta in 2012 and then saw a $8 billion company in making, Auto Trader. And we spent 3 days in their office and we realized we are sitting on a gold mine. We've got this much traffic, and I saw how traffic could convert into various businesses at Auto Trader. I think that kind of opened that vision. तो मैं इसलिए कभी-कभी कहता हूँ कि आपको सारी क्लैरिटी पहले दिन बोलना ज़रूरी नहीं है. It will evolve. Just focus on something. If you're focused on distribution, learn how to distribute. Reverse integrate कर लेंगे बाद में, हम कर रहे हैं ना आज. So don't worry about if you don't have full clarity, but win the consumer. That's all I'm trying to say. And then you can figure out models as you move in the journey. इसके साथ, इस traffic के साथ क्या करना है, या इस consumer के साथ और upsell कैसे कर सकते हैं. That can come later. 2012 में when I saw that auto could be the biggest domain, that's when we said, let's defocus everything else. Everything else is noise. Let's focus and let's make this large. This is our $1 billion baby. And that's when we actually started shutting down the other assets. Focus only on auto. Auto में गए तो 2012 to 15 हम लोग अच्छा profit बना रहे थे इसके अंदर. Then we realized that there is a big market of used car about to evolve, because every car will become a used car. And then we realized insurance and finance are common needs. When we met our dealers, when we met our consumers. So one thing led to other, and every 2 years we have started a new startup within our CarDekho group. And each one has become very large. And we have a house of founders. Every single guy in the company who's running the show acts like a founder. He's empowered. We create a culture in which people flourish. People have absolute empowerment to take decision and run their businesses. When some large player like OLX comes and puts in a lot of money into the market, your business model of classified gets disrupted, because you are charging money to the dealer at that point, that pay me for listing your car. OLX said take it free, and you are charging, and they have more traffic now because they've insanely spent on marketing. And we realized we can't spend so much on marketing, because this will never give the right return, because dealer pack would not be like charged at a 10K a month kind of a thing. Dealer does not earn that much. So I knew clearly that we can't increase the price. We'll have to practically make it free ourselves, because competition is. But we already had a team, meeting these dealers, and that was our core strength. We realized we can flip the model, and we met our dealers. We understood what form they would want us to take. I mean, as a tech company, the biggest advantage I feel we carry is that we can take any form and shape, basis what consumer or customer wants. So our dealers said, I'm having a big problem of, loans not going through. And then we understood the ecosystem problem, what was the fundamental problem, and then solved for it and created Rupee. Then he spoke about insurance, how difficult it is to do insurance. It takes around 7 to 10 days to insure a expired insurance vehicle, because most of the times dealers will have expired insurance vehicles, because he does not want to renew himself. He will make the customer renew it in his name. So he never renews. So when you actually have a query to renew insurance, you have to go to an insurance company. He'll send a evaluator, report will be submitted. It takes 7 to 10 days. We created a cool technology where you could self-evaluate your car. We would put price to the car, and you could issue insurance in 10 minutes. So we disrupted basis dealer needs. I think blessing in disguise was OLX coming in actually led us to move into a zone where we innovated further. अगर comfort zone में होते तो शायद चालू नहीं करते. And I always say, if you're feeling comfortable, everything is moving well, something is wrong. You have to get into that uncomfortable zone, start something new and pivot. Because if you are not going to do it, somebody else in a garage is doing it. Why did we raise funding so late? We raised in 2013 and we started the company in 7. So imagine the gap, right? Typically, these days founders, startups, start the company, want to raise in 6 months, 3 months, even earlier. Some people raise first and then start. We actually took 7 years, and there was a reason behind it. We never started it for raising. We started it for building a fundamental business, right? Because ये हमारा रोजी रोटी था, इसमें पैसा डूबने का कोई चांस नहीं था. We started a profitable company in Jaipur, and we were profitable every single year. When 2010 happened, we started getting term sheets. 10, 11, 12. Every single year we have got offers, and the prominent firms in India today, everybody made us an offer back then. We did not take that offer because they were offering $1 million or $2 million, which was a standard check size. And उससे ज़्यादा profit बैंक में था हमेशा. तो अनुराग, मेरा मन था, I'll be candid, ऐसा नहीं कि I had a think कि ये ले लेते हैं, इसमें पेपर में नाम आता है, जब आप लेते हो थोड़ी ग्लोरी मिलती है. But Anurag said, let's spend the money in the bank first. And if you're able to spend this money in the bank, we'll raise. So what that helped was that we never raised, because we were never able to spend that money in the bank. In hindsight, it was a great decision of not raising so early, because we were able to consume a lot of equity. The biggest equity goes out in the first round, second round. So if you believe in your business, if you believe something big can be created, run it frugally. Don't try to dilute in the beginning journey, because that's where the biggest dilution for lowest money will happen. So that's one thing we learned. Then we raised in 2013. Now we raised a Series A round back then, which was the largest Series A round of $15 million. उस टाइम 1-2 मिलियन के चेक होते थे, हमने सीधे 15 का चेक लिया था. तो बहुत सारा कैश बेंच आ गया, डाइल्यूशन बहुत कम करी हमने. आई थिंक दैट वर्कड सो ब्यूटीफुली ऑफ रेजिंग लेट एंड बिल्डिंग अ प्रॉफिटेबल एसेट. पैसा तब उठाओ जब नहीं चाहिए. अगर पैसा तब उठाओगे ना जब तुम्हें चाहिए, तो घटिया टर्म्स मिलेंगे, ज़्यादा डाइल्यूशन करोगे, यू विल नॉट बी हैप्पी अबाउट इट. एट शार्क टैंक, वेरी अर्ली स्टेज कंपनीज कम एंड you see the founder and you relate to him. I exactly see myself standing in too many founders, क्योंकि वो भी कई सारे लोग हैं, बड़े तकलीफ से निकल के आए हैं, धंधा बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, स्टार्टअप है, प्रॉफिटेबल हैं कितने सारे लोग, घर बैठे हुए. When I see the show now, when I meet the pitchers, there's a fighter out there who's a founder, and I see that pitcher is somewhat, every founder has got some common traits, and that's what I'm able to observe. Fighter होते हैं, बहुत हार्ड वर्किंग होते हैं, कंज्यूमर से कनेक्टेड होते हैं, ग्राउंड कनेक्ट होता है बहुत सॉलिड, डे टू डे एग्जीक्यूशन का नॉलेज होता है, धंधा पता होता है डे टू डे की कल कितनी सेल हुई, आज कितनी सेल हुई, कितना प्रॉफिट बन रहा है. तो इस तरीके के फाउंडर्स आते हैं ना, तो दिल से खुशी होती है कि इंडिया बदल रहा है. आई थिंक व्हेनेवर आई इन्वेस्ट इनटू अ बिजनेस, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग फॉर मी इज द एंटरप्रेन्योर. बंदा कैसे, पहले बंदा फिर धंधा. सो आई लुक फॉर वैल्यू सिस्टम, एंड दैट्स द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. व्हेन आई लुक एट वैल्यू सिस्टम में मैं ढूंढ रहा हूँ फाइटर है कि नहीं, हार्ड वर्किंग है कि नहीं, डे टू डे एग्जीक्यूशन में इन्वॉल्व है कि नहीं, basic traits which make you and is he a good human being, right? And that's the most important thing. And I think large businesses are built by good human beings. Then I check for the business itself. In the business, I have simple funda. Is the market addressable large enough? Second, I check for, does the founder have a spark, which means what's his superpower? जैसे मैंने बताया, I had SEO as my superpower. I try to find that superpower in my assessment. Then I try to see that in unit economics of the numbers. If he's a great Insta guy, telling good stories on Insta, millions of followers, then his CAC would be very low, because most of the traffic would be organic. Somebody may be good coder. So I try to find that spark, what they have done, which reflects in numbers. And then obviously you try to, put in money to multiply. So you have to get the deal at the right equity structure so that it can multiply, and there's an exit option available. Part of my investments are based on this philosophy. Half of my investments are based on, can this investment move India forward? Because when I see a picture and I may know that this business will not multiply very fast or will not become very large, or I may not have exit even. But I know that the pitcher who is standing there, crores of people watching this show are gonna say, ये मेरे जैसे, I can relate to the guy. और मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. I think अगर इधर इन्वेस्ट करूँगा तो मे बी इंडिया इंस्पायर हो जाएगा, बिकॉज इट्स अ गुड बिजनेस. इट्स जस्ट नॉट इन्वेस्टेबल और गेटिंग एग्जिट आउट. बट आपका रोल वहाँ पर वो है नहीं. एज अ शार्क मेरा रोल है कि मैं इंडिया को मूव फॉरवर्ड करने आया. सो आई पिक सच बिजनेसेस बिकॉज आई वॉन्ट to tell these are good business to build, these are profitable business to build, and you sitting at home watching the show also can do it. My take on valuation of a startup are fairly simple. Don't chase valuation, build a good business and valuations will follow. And most of the time, what happens is, in valuation mode, when you get into, you don't fundamentally build a good business. Because let's say, if multiple of GMV, you will chase that GMV, but you will not build the cost structures right. So my most important thing about valuation is you don't think about valuation. Because if you're thinking about it, you're building the business wrong in the first place. Think about, is the transaction going to make money? Am I solving some real problem for the consumer? And is it having a real impact? अगर कंज्यूमर को अच्छा लग रहा है तो बार बार लेगा ना, तो कस्टमर एक्विजिशन कॉस्ट धीरे धीरे कम आती रहेगी. पर अगर एक ट्रांजैक्शन में आपने जो खर्चा लगाया वही आपका कभी कवर नहीं हो पा रहा और ट्रांज़ैक्शन ही लॉस में है, तो फिर आपका जो फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट है वो भी कभी कवर नहीं होगा। मतलब मैं मानता हूँ कि स्टार्टअप्स में लॉस होना पॉसिबल है और होना भी चाहिए, क्योंकि पुराने ज़माने में लोग लगाते थे फैक्ट्री में पैसा, सीमेंट की फैक्ट्री लगानी, ज़मीन खरीदी, फैक्ट्री लगाई। अब हम लोग लगाते हैं टेक्नोलॉजी में पैसा, जो कि एसेट नहीं माना जाता, क्योंकि वो आप देख नहीं सकते, छू नहीं सकते, एक प्रोग्राम है वो। तो आवर इन्वेस्टमेंट गोज़ इन building this technology. But to cover the cost of this technology and make profits, every transaction happening in the platform has to throw some cash back. And most of the startups, many of the startups, not most, but many of the startups have not even cracked how to make a transaction profitable. And I think that's what worries me in terms of valuation, because they are surviving on, investment coming for oxygen, right, to breathe. I think that's where I personally feel that the valuation chase at times makes you build businesses that are not structurally right, and many of them will shut down also. CarDekho has diversified, into a large house of brand, and I would want to see each of these, brand become unicorns of themselves as we move in the journey, solve some consumer problems, and make sure keep on building more around consumer. There are so many more things to build. I expect us to start more new startups within the asset in CarDekho umbrella. And I'm looking forward to build $100 billion company in my lifetime. And that's the chase. एक से अब 100 कर दिया मैंने गोल, और मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि गोल थोड़ा बड़ा रखते हैं। 5 साल के अंदर कहाँ होऊँगा वो नहीं पता, पर मेहनत पूरी करी होगी ये पता है, एंड दैट्स मोर इम्पोर्टेंट टू मी। एंड कल्चर इन कार देखो इज अबाउट एम्पैथी, कल्चर इज अबाउट सर्वेंट लीडरशिप। When I say servant leadership, like for example, when COVID came, all leaders took largest cuts, and we did not touch the bottommost of the pyramid, even by a rupee, because we knew the salary of that guy is so low, he can barely manage, field staff. So leaders, that we demonstrate every single time, and that's how I love to promote. Be a servant leader. पहले गोली लगेगी तो लीडर को लगेगी, उसके बाद टीम पे लगेगी, and that's how I promote the culture. I think stages evolve, and I have evolved as a founder also. I have started to learn, how it's important to have people running business versus you executing daily and getting that kick out. My time now goes in running smaller businesses of the company. That's where I get the kick. क्योंकि जब बड़ा हो जाता है ना, उतनी फास्ट ग्रो नहीं करता है। मेरे को किक मिलती है 10x होने में, तो मुझे चाहिए हर बारी कुछ नया कीड़ा। तो आई ट्राई टू पिक अप स्मॉलर वंस and make them large, and that's how new businesses were born at CarDekho Group. That's why we are such a diversified group with so many businesses. Now the question is why some become large and why some don't become large, right? I think some people get that secret sauce right, product market fit जिसे कहते हैं, right, कि कंज्यूमर को पसंद आ रहा है, वो रिपीट कर रहा है, यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स इज गेटिंग इनटू शेप बेटर, and because of that investors also come and fund such businesses. So get the fundamentals right of business. Many a time founder is not able to figure out a fundamental unit economics or a fundamental product market fit, and that's when they have to shut down. Having said that, while doing so also you learn a lot. So there's no reason to shy away from it.
अगर आप इस टॉक के एंड तक पहुंच चुके हैं तो मैं आपको जोश टॉक्स का एक दूसरा रूप भी दिखाना चाहता हूं, जिससे मैं काफ़ी देर से जुड़ा हुआ हूं और मुझे बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं। जोश टॉक्स ने एक नया ऐप लॉन्च किया है जिसका नाम है जोश स्किल्स। अब वो नया नहीं रहा, काफ़ी टाइम से है, लाखों लोग उसको अब यूज़ करते हैं। और जोश स्किल्स पे आप अपनी ज़िंदगी के लिए कोर्सेज ढूंढ सकते हैं। वो कोर्स नहीं जो आपको फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, कॉमर्स, बिजनेस स्टडीज पढ़ाएंगे, वो कोर्सेज जो आपकी ज़िंदगी में आपको कैसे जीना चाहिए वो सिखाएंगे। मैंने खुद जो स्किल्स पे बहुत सारे कोर्सेज बनाए हैं, पब्लिक स्पीकिंग पे, इमोशनल क्राइसिस कैसे हैंडल किया जाए, अपनी पर्सनालिटी कैसे डेवलप की जाए। हर एक कोर्स में डेली क्विजेज हैं, एक्सरसाइजेज हैं, एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत कम्युनिटी है जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगी, आपको इनकरेज करेगी। आज ही डाउनलोड करें जोश स्किल्स का ऐप और उनके कोर्सेज एक्सप्लोर करके अपनी ज़िंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं।